Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Sergeant Griffin, and we are here today at Professional Touch Fitness Workout Video Series in downtown Philadelphia at the Weston Fitness Athletic Club. And I have a couple of buddies here with me today. We're going to help show you guys how to work the biceps and the shoulders. I have with me Darren Washington, who will be working out with us today, and also Jonathan Walsh. I've kind of given him a nickname, Speedy, for obvious reasons. He likes to run a lot. So these guys are going to be working with me today to show you all different exercises that you can use to actually strengthen and develop the bicep and also strengthen and develop the shoulder muscles. So what we're going to do is break out into different stations that we have. I'm actually going to have the three of the fellas come over to the racks where we're going to do the dumbbells. We're going to do 3 different routines here in working the biceps. One of them will be the alternate curls, one will be the hammer curls, and one is a different twist, kind of combining them both, and it's called the Zotman curls. And actually, each one of us will be doing one of the 3, and I want you to watch how they're actually performed and carried out. A few of the things I want you to bear in mind in working the biceps is that you definitely want to make sure you're stretching the muscles. You want to warm up before you do your routine. You can warm up with some light stretching. You can warm up with running in place. If you have access to a treadmill, you can do a few moments on there just to kind of get the blood circulating, get the tissues warmed up a little bit. You just don't want to come into a gym, grab the weights, and just start exercising cold. You want to kind of loosen up the muscles. Also, you want to be very conscious to keep yourself hydrated, because even in working out, even if you don't sweat heavily, and I tend to do a lot of times in working out, you can still dehydrate very easily. So you want to make sure you keep yourself hydrated with plenty of water. Also, you want to make sure that when you're doing your different sets, that you're getting adequate rest in between the repetitions, so you'll be able to complete your 3 to 4 sets, or depending on the operation that you're doing. Also, in using the weights or any of the equipment that you're going to use with your workout routine, breathing is very important. Old school was to hold your breath when you lift, when you press, when you pull. You don't want to really do that. In holding your breath, you tend to elevate your blood pressure because of the exertion. When lifting weights, because of the exertion, you elevate it a little bit higher than that. And because of the exercise in general, you tend to keep your heart rate elevated. So there's a lot of pressure that's going on, and you want to keep your body very well oxygenated. You want to make sure your breathing is regulated. You don't want to hyperventilate. You don't want to huff and puff. You don't want to strain and pull muscles to damage or injure them. You want to select the weights that's comfortable for you to use based on your particular goal. Now I'm going to ask Darren to select his weapon of choice. I'm going to ask John to come over and select his weapon of choice, and I will select my weapon of choice. And just kind of like observe as we do what we're going to do. John's going to do the alternate curls. Now I want you to watch as he goes into the operation. He does one arm at a time. This particular movement can also be done, you can begin, also can be done with both arms at the same time. Doing it this way, you're able to take advantage of the torque right at the end as he tilts his right thumb to the edge. When he turns over, he's working the bicep here. There are actually 2 sections to that muscle where you actually get an opportunity to see it work. And you have right up here is the area that he's actually going to be working. And you notice he inhales as he lowers the weight down, exhale as he exerts to pull it up. These are called alternate curls, and again, they can be done from a standing position. They can be done both arms together. They also can be done on a inclined bench where you get even a greater stretch to it. And what Darren's going to do over here are called the hammer curls. Now he's doing the hammer curls, which not only are they working the biceps, but he's also working the forearms. Go ahead, Darren, show them. And you see as he brings the plates up, just to show the bottom of the plate, you want to make sure that you're curling from the forearm, keeping that arm as stiff, straight as possible, keeping the elbow here mobilized so it's not moving out of place. And as he goes ahead and contract, you see the work in the biceps, but you're also bringing the forearms into place. This is one of the least exercised muscles in the body if you're not concentrating on them. And this here hammer curl is a good way to work that. Now, if you happen to be somebody who's a little short on time and you want to kind of include both of these movements together, you can do what's also called the Zotman curls, which are similar, putting both of these routines together. And you actually do them both arms together. And you want to slightly bend the knees. That's with both of these. This takes the stress off the lower back. You want to curl it up, reverse your wrist, and bring the weight down. Turn it back to the starting, curl up, turn the wrist, bring them back down. It's a good wrist strengthening, grip developing, forearm developing, bicep developing workout. You're able to work your biceps, your forearms, and your wrist all at the same time. Be very careful at the amount of weight that you select to use so as not to put too great a stress on the forearms, on the wrist, and be very controlled, steady, and slow and deliberate with the turns that you use so as not to jar or injure the wrist. Okay, another one we're going to do, I'm going to ask John if he can come over to the preacher's bench. And one day I'm actually going to research and find out why they call these preacher curls. But this is another way of working the biceps. He's going to go ahead and give us this 10 reps here. Now, in working the preacher curl using the cumbered bar, and that's this little crooked bar here, he's holding with an inside grip. While holding the inside grip, he's actually working the outside head or the top head of the bicep. Now, in a moment, I'm going to have him lower that down and then take the outside grip. Now, when he takes the outside grip and he begins to curl, if you notice, the position of his arms slightly change, so now he's working the bottom head of the bicep. As I told you, there are two sections to this muscle, although you see just one knot here from these well-developed arms. They've been highly trained. Isn't that right, John? All righty. So he's actually able to work this. Still in this movement, he's working the forearms, and watch his grip as well, very sure. So you want to make sure there's no strain or unnecessary pulling. He wants to lower the weight down and then raise it back up. You don't necessarily need to hyperextend or straighten the arm all the way out. Enough just to keep the stretch and the tension on the forearms and biceps and bring it right back down. And when you're done, of course, you would stand to place the weights back down in place. Okay? Now, we're going to have Darren over here going to just give us a little demonstration of a straight bar curl. Now, the straight bar curl is one of the most common routines in a bicep workout. I'm going to ask Darren to go ahead and give us several sets of these. With the grip wide enough to isolate the top head of the bicep and the bottom head of the bicep. I'm going to curl the bar straight up and lower it right back down. You notice the elbows do not come up, just the forearm raises and it lowers it back down. It keeps the biceps isolated, and you don't need an awful lot of weight here to build strength and to build the biceps. It's a small muscle, so it doesn't really take a whole lot of weight. And you notice the knees are slightly bent, the back is straight. He exhales as he contracts, inhales as he lowers the weight down. And there is no excessive body movement here, no swinging, no swaying, no throwing the weight up, no dropping the weight down. He takes his time in lowering the weight, and takes his time in raising it up, all right? Now, also in working the biceps, where you would have the straight bar, you would have the cumbered bar or the crooked bar, and you also have the dumbbells. Another way of working the biceps are using cables. Now what we're going to do, come over here to the cable machine. I want you to follow me over this way. Excellent, excellent. What I actually have set up here is a little station where we're going to get a chance to work the biceps from the cable point of view. The first one, of course, similar to what Darren did with the straight bar, would be the standing cable row. And you just bring them straight up, bring the arm straight down. Notice the knees are slightly bent. It takes the stress off of the lower back. And the only thing that you really want to have moving are the forearms from the elbow down. Everything else is to stay stationary to isolate the biceps. Another way of doing this, just to keep your body positioned so you're not doing a lot of rocking, and if you're going a little heavier, to avoid that, if you just give me a moment here, you can also do this movement from a lying position. Put the bar across the lats and bring it straight up. This way you're able to handle a little bit heavier weight, and you don't have to worry about your body swaying back. You can keep your elbows stationary and curling it up. Again, as you curl up, exhale out. Inhale as you bring the weight down. And then that's another way of actually working that, so you can get the biceps a good working. If you go into a facility where they don't have straight bars, or they don't have the cumbered bars, or they don't have dumbbells and just happen to have a universal set or a cable set, you can do a lot there. Also, another one to do, plenty of oil. Make sure, bring it up a little higher. Excellent, excellent. And using the cables, still to get a good bicep workout. And you want to do them both as what John did with doing the alternate curls. You can also do something similar. You can do the cable curls and position yourself where you have the weights evenly distributed on both sides. And you want to curl them straight up towards you. You don't need to bring them all the way out, just enough to keep the tension on the biceps. Bring them out. Keep the elbows stationary as much as possible. Excellent. Now I want to have you guys want to come over to do a single arm curl. Speedy. Remember, we call him Speedy. Okay. Now what I want you to do is to basically concentrate on it. Actually, if you could use that arm there, a little easier for the angle and kind of turn there. And he's going to give a single arm curl, bringing it straight up. Again, you can do alternate curls with these. You can do the single arm curl and isolating it. And you see where the contraction is on the bicep here, curling the wrist up for the torque right at the top. So if you find yourself in a position where you don't have excessive amount of equipment, a lot of things you can do to actually modify the particular movement. As we did with the preacher curl, I'm going to ask Darren to do a modified version of that over here. And what he's going to do, all right, sir, thank you much. What he's going to do in doing the preacher curl, where we did it on the preacher bench, this time with this movement, keeping the arms locked out here, and he just wants to curl it straight up. Here you're getting the pull from the cable, keeping the elbows and the upper portion of the arm locked and stationary. You're able to isolate the bicep, get a much more extensive work. So you can't get to the preacher's bench, or they don't have that type of equipment there. You still want to get that type of workout, you're still able to do so. Keep the knees bent to keep the stress off the lower back. It's a bit more of a challenge here because you now have to support the weight without swinging and without pulling back, still being able to isolate the biceps and to be able to work them from that angle. All right? Okay, excellent, excellent.
Now, Nate,
Yeah.
before we go on the shoulders, or I don't know what exercise you want to go to next, when you're working the preacher bench, how do you know what level or how high to have the preacher bench?
Good question. When you're working the preacher bench, just as we did with this movement here, you want to be able to isolate the bicep that you're going to be working, that particular area. So you want to position yourself where your body is actually hanging over and you have it all isolated here. You don't want to be too far up here because you have a tendency to bring the shoulders back if the weight is very heavy. This way, it's just the arm that's moving. You'll find with using a lot of the equipment, you don't need a lot of weight. If you have a slow and steady pace, if you're paying close attention to detail in your lifting, concentric and eccentric movements, raising the weight and lowering the weight, with good steady pace, you'll actually begin to feel the burn, the pump, the actual weight that you're working with. Sometimes people go too heavy. They tend to wrench their elbows, wrench their shoulders, and they can bring a lot of injury to themselves because they're using a lot of body motion to pull it. So you want to be isolated, just as you were in that position when we're doing the cable preacher. Everything was stationary and the arms were extended straight out and you were just bringing them straight towards you. So you don't want to be too far back because now you're bringing too much shoulder into the play. There's another one we want to do is for concentrations, not just with the cable curls here. As a matter of fact, I'll show you one here and then I'll have Speedy do one over on the bench. Another way of doing concentrations, again, if you have the cables, and I really like concentrations because, again, just as the preacher curls, it isolates the movement. Here you have the arm extended, and you got a nice pull here, and you just want to curl it straight up and bring it straight down. Straight up and straight down. And if you notice, the elbow is supported on the knee or on your hand, and you're isolating it, the whole bicep, with a full extension, full contraction, bringing the movement up. You don't want to rock with it. You don't want to have it back here because you're not isolating it. Full extension.
How far down do you go?
Well, you want your arm to be fully stretched out. So if you want to do it this way, and you're able to discipline yourself to keep your position straight, you can do it. Or if you really want to rest it here, just as you would if you were doing it on the bench, resting it on the inside to be able to pull it up. Now I want to show you on the bench. Matter of fact, just before we go, since we're right over in this position here, another way of working hammers on the cable machine, using the ropes that we have here, positioning yourself where you have your arms facing, your palms facing each other, straight down, and you want to bring them straight up, just as you were doing them with the dumbbells. So you're able to work the forearm, you're able to work the bicep, and very little movement with the wrist, getting a full contraction. All right, so you'll find, based on how well equipped the gym or the facility where you are is, if you're on a cable machine, there's a whole lot you can actually do here. And I want to also add that even if you're wheelchair bound, just say for example, if you're in a wheelchair and you just have movement from the waist up, you can work every part of your body from this cable here. You can work chest, you can work back, you can work shoulders, work biceps, you can work triceps. You can even work abs from this particular movement, even if you're in a wheelchair. Only thing, of course, you're not able to work are the legs for obvious reasons. But I've had quite a few people that I've shown movement. Alrighty, now what we're going to do just to finish up the bicep routine, we did a lot of work over on the cable machine, but I want to show you also a proper delivery of the concentration curls. I'm going to ask Speedy to grab the weight here. You want to have your tricep right on the inside of the thigh here. And this is another way of helping you to isolate the bicep as you go to work it. Now he's going to go ahead and do his reps. As you see, you bring the arm down as far as he can to stretch out the bicep, and catching it from the other angle over here, you can see where he gets good contraction, bringing it straight down. He's using this hand to support his weight. You notice he's not pulling the shoulder back, and he's just bending up that forearm, and he's just working this one particular area here. All right? Excellent, excellent. Now what we're going to do to make a transition over to working the shoulders. Now I also want to go into, just briefly, there's a number of ways of orchestrating your workout routine. Again, you don't really want to work two larger muscles at the same time. Like chest and back, you may want to break them up. You may do chest, which is a pushing routine, working the triceps, and you might want to do biceps, which is a pulling motion. You can do triceps and biceps. You can do shoulders and legs. You can do chest and back based on your level of conditioning and really what you want to do. So there's a number of ways of working them out based on your particular goal, your ability of stamina, and your conditioning. So what we're going to do right now is switch over to working the shoulders. What Speedy is going to do is demonstrate the shoulder press. And that's this whole section up here, the front portion of the shoulders, the middle portion of the shoulders, and the rear portion. And we're going to work all three of those. He's going to hoist the weights up, bringing them straight up to the top, bringing them basically right about even to the ear. Okay, you don't need to bring them all the way down. You don't need to bring the elbows all the way down. Working this whole shoulder girdle here. As you see, the whole area of operation right here, all of this is flexed. Eternal flex right here. I'm bouncing quarters off of this right now. You can't even see. Okay, he's inhaling as he brings them down, keeping the control as he raises them back up. This works the trapezius, or the back portion of the neck here, also working the shoulders as well. All right? Excellent. He's going to put those down. Over here, we have Darren getting ready to do what's called the military press. He's doing the military press here. Has the weights situated. The knees are slightly bent. He's going to do somewhat of a clean snatch, as it were, bringing him up into position. He's going to go ahead and begin to press the weights up. Now, here again, he's working the shoulders. This time, hitting mainly the front end of the shoulders. Exhaling as he presses the weight above the head. Keeping the back straight, keeping the abs tight. Your abdominals, the condition of them are very crucial in weight training. Is your center of gravity. So you want to avoid the strain. You want to keep the arms spaced enough. All right, you can put those down. You want to keep the arms spaced enough to be able to work the shoulder and not concentrate so much on the chest. So you don't want to go into a incline chest movement. Now I'm also going to show you another way of doing shrugs here, where we can do basically holding here, bringing the shoulders up, squeezing right at the top, pressing them down. Bringing them right up, pressing them down. Now you're working the upper portion of the shoulders, and you can adjust the weights based on your goal and what it is you're trying to accomplish. I'm going to ask Speedy to grab the 20 pounds over there, and what he's going to do are the dumbbell shrugs to work them as well. And follow me right around this way. And what he's going to do the same thing. And this time he's going to bring the arms down to the bottom, letting them be fully extended. He's just going to bring up the shoulders to the ears. All right, bringing the shoulders straight up to the ears. Again, working the shoulders, working them, squeezing right at the very top. All right? Excellent. Now I'm going to ask,
I've seen a lot of people rotate their shoulders when they do this, so.
It's not really recommended, and I really wouldn't recommend rotating shoulders as you do the routines, because you have a greater chance of injury to the shoulders as well. Now, you can have rotator cuff tear, add a lot of unnecessary stress and tension to the shoulders. And what we're going to do just to finish up the shoulder routine is each of us going to do a version of lat raises or lateral raises. Going to ask, matter of fact, just before we do that, Darren, I want you to show us the upright rows if you could.
Okay.
There's another way of also working the upper portion of the shoulders here. And again, getting a much closer grip. It's going to bring it right up under the chin. As you see, the elbows go straight up and straight out. And again, just as though we were doing the shrugs, you get to work the upper portion of the neck, the trapezius, right back here. And this is the area that he's actually working while doing the upright rows. He's not throwing the weight up. His back is not swaying. He's not bouncing back and forth. He's got the knees slightly bent, and he's able to work the area of operation that he's actually hitting, all of this section up here. All right, so you want to be very careful with that. All right? Excellent. Now, okay, we're going to ask, now, we're going to do the lateral raises. And with this particular routine, you don't need to have very, very heavy weights. Now, if you're into powerlifting, power training, of course, you get much heavier within the form. We'll have to adjust to be able to do the maneuver. I'm going to ask everybody to get their particular weight of choice, and we're going to actually try to show you different variations of them. I'm going to have Darren do the front lateral raises, and if you notice as he brings them, he can do them both arms at the same time, or he can alternate them as he brings them up. Excellent. And he's able to work the front portion of the shoulder. See him working the front portion of the shoulder as he raises them straight up. And these muscles are known as the deltoids, anterior, medial, and posterior delts that he's working. Excellent. And bringing them up to eye level or just in front of you is as far as you need to bring them. All right? Okay, now I'm going to actually show you the side lateral raises. All right, the same way, but this time you're working the sides of the delts. You're going to bring the arms straight out and straight down. Straight down. You don't need to bring them in a V position. A T position will suffice.
And how far up do you bring them?
Right to the T position.
T position.
Not to a V,
Okay.
V position. All right. And what we're going to do, have Speedy show. Yeah.
What's the difference between bringing your side lateral raises from the side and bringing them from the front?
Oh, that's what I was talking about when you get more into powerlifting and you're going much heavier. You're actually able to work side and rear at the same time by bringing them to this motion. And if I may, just give you a quick demonstration here. When you're bringing them right here to the front, give me a little room here, a little swinging room. I'm going to bring them straight here. And if you notice, I'm not doing all of this. Using just enough natural momentum to raise the weight and bring it right back down. All right? Now, Speedy is going to work the rear delts, although there has been some speculations that this is also a back routine. And true, you do get to work the back as well. You also get to work the rear delts, and even up here, the trapeze is at the upper portion of the back. And I like this particular routine from this angle simply because there's other ways of doing this. You can do it from a bent over position, but you have more of a tendency to swing the whole body. Here, you're laying your body against the pad, and all you need to do is just concentrate on raising the weight and lowering it. Be very careful in the amount of weight that you select so as not to put a lot of stress on the shoulders, okay? So you'll find doing a lot of the routines that we've done today, especially for shoulders, can also be included in the back routine as well. You want to make sure that you're using the proper weight for your objective. You can always pyramid on the weights, going up on the weights. You can do drop sets. It's good to work out with a partner when you're doing that type of routine. Also bear in mind, it does not matter, alrighty now, it doesn't matter if your age, your gender, or your body type. These exercises that we've done today, anyone can do them. You just need to select a proper weight to meet your particular goal. Ladies, those of you who are watching this and figure it's easy for us to say we're a bunch of guys that are doing this, women work with weights all the time. Professional athletes, I'm not talking about wrestlers or folks of that nature, but swimmers, tennis players, golf players, basketball players, you know, a lot of people, male and female, young and old, work with weights to be able to strengthen their bodies through them. Women definitely going to need good muscle tone, especially as you get further up in years. When the body's losing estrogen, you have a tendency of brittle bones, possibility of fractures and breakages and things of that nature. So it's very important for you to build some muscle that helps build bone density, good bone density, along with a good nutritional program. So don't feel intimidated or afraid to try any of the weight routines that you may see that we may use around here, knowing what your objective is. If it's to slim down, to build up, to strengthen, to tone, with a properly designed exercise program for you. You can incorporate using the free weights, the machines, the cables, exercises without machines to be able to reach your objective. All right?
Already ready.
All right, now what we're going to do here, I'm just being dogged out right now, but don't worry about it. We're going to do a couple of ab routines here that I want you to kind of concentrate on. There's a lot that you can do with, this is called Swiss ball. And what Speedy's going to do is a beginner's version of crunches on here. Now with crunches, you don't have to do full sit-ups, and you're able to work the abs very well, mainly the upper abs. So he's going to give us about 3 of those. Coming back, a good stretch here, and he's just contracting. Now this movement seems very elementary and as though nothing much is going on, but you do about 3 sets of 10 of those, and you really will feel it. All right? Now hold a moment. I want you to move back some more. All right? Supporting his weight, properly distributing his feet here. And again, he's going to contract, working the abs here, coming up just a little higher, working this whole area here. Excellent. And one more. Now take it to the most advanced form on this particular routine. I'm coming back a little bit more. The further up your center of gravity gets, the more of a challenge it becomes. And what makes it much more of a challenge is now you have to support your whole weight on here. Okay? And again, contracting here. And you do about 3 sets of 10s, and if you're much more advanced with that, you can do 3 sets of 20s to really get a good workout on the abs here. And what we're going to ask Darren to do, come over here, it's a little ab drill. You need a partner to work with you on this particular one. All righty? Now he's going to lock into position, and what we're going to do is going to work all avenues of his abs here. The full stretch overhead to the side to work the obliques, and then also working the hip flexors, okay? Now I want you to come around from on this side here. As I go ahead and toss, he's going to go back. As he comes up, he's going to bring the ball right to me. He's keeping the tension on the abs. Excellent. Now we're going to go overhead. As he goes up, his arms overhead, gets that whole stretch on the whole abdominis rectus. And now we're going to go over to the side to work the obliques a little bit. And as you see, he switches over to the side, stretches it out, comes right back up to the other way. The same thing. These particular routines you definitely want to be conditioned before trying. Now working this, you work the abs, you work the hip flexors, work the upper abs, lower abs, and you also get to work the obliques. All right? Excellent. Outstanding. You can do this all day because he's Darren. Okay. So today we've gone over a variety of bicep routines and a variety of shoulder routines that you can actually do, and a couple of ab routines that you can also throw in. It's very important that you really get a good ab workout work along with your nutrition, get proper rest, so you'll be able to do the routines that you're doing. All right?
Ready, ready.